And okay, looks like we are recording. And actually, let me do one more thing. I'm gonna do, if I can pin you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll just get started. So I'm here today with Coti Brown out of Michigan, and I would love for you to share a bit more about yourself, your career background, personal life, anything that would let us know a bit more about Coti.
Yeah. So one, thank you for asking me to do this. I appreciate it. So my name's Coti. My husband Ty and I are full-time in real estate. We live in mid-Michigan in Genesee County. So if you think of between Flint and Detroit, we're kind of in between those two cities. We have three daughters that are 14, 12, and 10. And then we have two fur babies. One that we've had a long time, one that was just recently a rescue that was supposed to be a foster that we failed. And so now he's officially a brown. And yeah, our background in real estate, is it's kind of is I'll try to make a long story short, but I feel like I always knew I was going to go into real estate, even though I didn't pursue real estate early on. My when growing up, my mom was a single mom, and we moved about 25, 26 times before I graduated high school. We always moved from apartments to trailers. We never owned a home, and so it was something that was always really interesting to me. I can remember as a kid even driving in the car and going by what would be like the worst house in the neighborhood, and I would go, "Oh, but if we could just own that house." So real estate early on was a really interesting thing to me. Um, but I did what I think most people do. I got out of high school, I went out of college. I was in that generation where, parents or grandparents didn't go to college, so they were telling their kids, grandkid, you have to go to college. And I did. And um, I remember I thought I was going to go into political science, actually. I thought I was going to be it somehow save the world through, the US government. And I sat in my very first poli sci class, and the professor stood up front and he said, "Who's prepared for a life of service and to be broke the rest of their life but fulfilled?" I literally got up out of my chair and I went to walk out, and he stopped me and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go change my major." I said, "I've been broke all my life. I'm not interested in that anymore." And so I went to admissions. I changed my degree to business, and then that just kind of, I feel like a lot of people do this. I just got out of school. I waited to see what kind of career choices there were. I landed in retail for a while, and then I got into banking. I worked for JP Morgan for a number of years and promoted a lot throughout there. I actually thought about getting into real estate 10 years before I did. I called a friend, though, that I knew from high school that said, she was in real estate. And I said, "What's it like to get into real estate? How will it be?" And she's like, "Oh, it's terrible. You're going to need a lot of money to get started. I don't recommend it." And I thought, okay, never mind. I'm going to stay put. So I actually stayed where I was at for a number of years. And then I went and I became a stay-at-home mom for 4 years when we had our last one, because ironically enough, daycare cost more than my income at the time. And after 4 years of being home till our youngest was about ready to go to preschool, that's when I really revisited it. I came back and said, "I think I want to get my real estate license." And that's a whole nother long story, but it was a total God wink, like all at once when it hit me of I knew exactly how I was going to build my business. I knew exactly what niche I wanted to go into. Um, and it was pretty amazing because we actually were moving back to Michigan. We hadn't lived here for a number of years. So I was starting into real estate in a brand new area where we didn't have a sphere, which was crazy.
That is incredible. And to think that you moved 25 times in high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you answered a lot of my questions already because I was going to ask you, what was your career path before you even went into real estate? But that is an amazing story, and I love hearing that. And just for those that are watching this interview, one of the other reasons I'm actually interviewing you is because you're actually one of our power agents. So you're an individual agent here at Epic that are doing numbers that are team level numbers. And so being part of the teams division, you definitely stood out. Could you share with us a little bit of what your 2024 numbers were?
Yeah, we actually did a little bit less than we normally do transaction wise. I think we landed at 47, or I landed at 47. I have a real hard time not including like my title team, my lender, my inspect. I work with the same great group of individuals every chance that we can. Obviously, it's up to our clients, but um, so I landed at 47, I believe it was for this year. But volume wise, we were pretty flat for our area. Um, every year since my first year in real estate, my very first year in real estate, I did 51 transactions. Every year after that, I continued to grow. You know, probably my hardest year was where I personally did, it was close to 80 transactions, and that was a lot. It was a lot for me. But this year it was a difficult year this year. It really was. And I think the biggest reason it was difficult was there was a lot more transactions, at least in our area, that fell apart. You know, there was a lot less inventory. You had to battle with purchasing power when it came to rates, what people could afford. So there were a lot of obstacles. And had I not built my business the way that I did in the very beginning, I see this year would have been incredibly difficult. I see why so many agents probably hung up their hats this year, because if my business wasn't built on 100% referral base, I don't think we would have had the year we had.
Wow, that's incredible. It's funny that you say that your numbers are low. That's really high. That's really impressive. And regardless of the actual volume total, it's how many transactions. It's the same amount of work, right? It doesn't matter what
Right.
the price is. So that's I applaud you for that. That was going to be one of my other questions was, what is the hardest part of this industry, and then how do you push through those challenges? And you've already talked a bit about that, but I don't know if there's anything else, any other type of advice for pushing through. Like you stuck it out when other people hung up their hats.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different components to this industry that are hard, you know, and my husband Ty always tells me, he goes, you make it look so easy, and that's the problem. You know, that's the problem why when we get agents that'll over the years have come and say, I want to get licensed, and then they get in and they're like, this isn't what I thought, you know, or clients where when maybe they get emotional and there's a little bit of pushback. And he said, you know, the reason that you have these things because you do make it look easy. And there's things to me that I think we're all born with a set of talents. And I think one of the things that I was gifted with is I think that I've always been a good conduit and a good advocate for people. I love to connect people. And so to me, going from banking to real estate was just a different widget. It was okay, I'm helping people with their financial livelihood. Now I'm helping them with the largest material purchase of their life. Both of those things take relationship building. Both of them take, you know, listening skills and problem solving, being a solution based, you know, person in their life. I think one of the things that I feel is the hardest though when you're starting is being surrounded in an environment in an industry that is very driven by I'd say ego. It's very driven by success and stats. I think it's really hard for the newer person or the person, let's say they're not newer, but maybe they've gone part time for a while to get their feet wet. Maybe it's not somebody that can go both feet in, and it's taken them 5 years to be able to get to 10 transactions. I think it's really hard to be able to say, hey, you know, I don't have that track record, I don't have those numbers, but I am here to really help you. And that's one of the things I see a lot of our agents that we partner with in our, you know, organization that I seen them struggle with. For me, I think the other part that's hard even now is just constantly staying on top of what is of best interest to our clients. There's market changes. You know, there's networking, there's communication, there's relationships in this industry that if you screw up a relationship in a community where you get known as a difficult agent to work with, not only can that hurt you on the business side, but it really hurts you getting your offers accepted, getting deals put together. So you really have to be a master of all of those things. You have to master the relationship with your clients, but you have to master the relationships within your communities and amongst those people I talked about, like investors, lenders, inspectors, title companies, things like that.
Those are some great insights, and it just makes me wonder also, you're talking about the different challenges and how you push through those. But tell me about some of the positives. what keeps you selling real estate? And do you see yourself like this being the end career for you, or maybe branching out into other areas?
I mean, this will absolutely, real estate as a whole will be the end career for me. I'll do some sort of real estate till the day I die. I've already pivoted. And I say we again, my husband and I, he has his broker's license. He works on the operations side of the business here with an Epic, and I do all transactions. Now, on top of that, though, in the course of the 7.5 years, which is not a long time in real estate world, but in the course of this time, we've opened other lines of income. And I think that's incredibly important for agents to think about. We help people buy and sell this commodity that makes so many people so much money when it comes to appreciation. Yet so few realtors actually invest themselves. So we looked at other ways of how can we start to gain passive income. One of those early on was opening a title company. So we have not only our transactional business, but we have our title company business. We also looked at other options of, okay, what hard assets can we have in real estate? So we have Airbnb, we have long-term rentals. There's other things you can do with your real estate license that don't require you to open doors and don't require you to put listing signs in yards all the time. And those are the things where it's one for one time. And I think as you grow your business, you have to find things where can you do one to many versus one to one. A transaction is great, but I'm unemployed the very next day, right? I have $0. The bank account starts over. So what are residuals that I can look at? And Epic has built-in ones, which is nice. You've got revenue share here, which is fantastic. And I've always been a huge proponent of revenue share. I came from a corporate model that had profit share, and there's a big difference. And when people don't understand the difference of one, you don't have any, or you have profit share that the company controls versus revenue share that you control, like that's a huge difference to your pocketbook. Revenue share right now at this point, I mean, it pays for our lake house. That's a big deal that agents should be taking advantage of. But I think to answer that in a short, yeah, we absolutely will be doing this till the day we die. But I think it'll look different, and each year has looked different. You have no interest in doing 80 transactions personally again, like ever again. I think that 50 would probably be my max going forward, but I am interested in adding to our portfolio when it comes to this industry, this piece of real estate. Now, does that look like additional properties? Does that look like, last year we added digital products to some of our sales, teaching other agents how to do things. And that is another source of income, but there's just so many options. I say your real estate license, everybody should, I feel like as soon as you're done with high school, getting your real estate license should be something everybody has to do because it'll teach you more about them. Even if you never use it, at least it can save you money buying and selling your own house, know better how to negotiate. But it really is a ticket to run a real estate business however you want. We have some agents that they don't even want to do transactions, so they cultivate referrals, and their entire income stream is from a referral base. There's just so many things to do with it that I just feel like it's endless. So yeah, we will do this forever. I just don't know what it'll look like.
That's great. And I love that you touched on you diversify your income. It's real estate, but it's real estate almost reimagined in different ways of how to use it and that your flexibility going forward and thinking out. I think that business degree really is paid off for you to going from the poly side of business. I love that story as well. So with that, I know that you'd already touched a bit about the additional stream of income with revenue share with Epic. I don't know if that was the only reason you came over, but what was the reason? I mean, we've both been at different brokerages. What was your reason for coming to Epic? Because we are honored to have you. We have great agents, and I always wonder what made you make that jump.
So that's a great question. Cloud-based brokerage was key, obviously, for me. When we opened, I felt like we opened our brokerage, we like birthed a baby. I mean, it was blood, sweat, and tears, and it's uh, a year into that, I knew I had zero interest. I mean, I remember laying down to go to bed one night, and Ty turned to me and he said, "You're just not that into this anymore, are you?" And I was like heartbroken that he could tell because we had put so much effort. And by all brokerage standards, we were wildly successful. I mean, we opened, we didn't have any debt. We had like 29 agents for a little boutique brokerage within a year. We were killing it. And I was so unhappy. it's probably the most unhappy I've ever been in real estate. And I worked with great people. We had wonderful agents. But it really boiled down to what is giving you energy and what is taking away your energy. And something as simple as having an office that I felt like I had to go to, like stole my energy. I wanted nothing to do with it, you know? Also needing to wear all of the hats all of the time. And then having this want to still go out and sell myself. And so I knew cloud-based brokerage. And so that was a huge thing for me. I knew that Epic being cloud-based, that not only that, I could work with agents everywhere. And having lived in a number of different states, I'm originally from Iowa, here in Michigan. We lived in Georgia for a number of years. You know, I knew people in different states. And so knowing other realtors that were there, now I could actually collectively work with them. And probably a bigger component is social media. You know, I had been on social media for years, and I think probably before it was like cool to be doing real estate stuff on social media, I was on social media just sharing stuff. And so I had all of these connections. And some of these people were realtors, and they said, gosh, I just really wish we could work with you. And Epic gives us that vehicle to be able to work with one another. For us, though, I will tell you, because we were at a previous cloud-based brokerage, the two things that compelled us to make the move, I've said this a number of times. Number one, it was a good move for all the agents we worked with. You know, we had an organization of about 55 agents. And when we brought it to them, they said, oh my gosh, the benefits, right? Because there was nothing like it. And so I could tell, even though I knew, especially because some of them were on our immediate team, that this was going to be a financial cut to us, it was going to be a win for them. And so that was a no-brainer to us. When it's better for everybody, then we had to. But for us, the biggest reason personally was the fact that we could be part of a company. You know, my banking background, I had helped people before with, you know, companies that were in an IPO type situation. And I said, oh my gosh, they haven't gone public yet. This is incredibly intriguing to me. At this stage in our real estate, you know, we could do real estate anywhere. I mean, if we wanted to, we could do real estate just by ourselves and not do anything else. You know, we have a broker's license and just be done with it. But I love the idea of community. I love the idea of, again, being able to take off that hat and let Epic do the brokerage work while we do the relationship piece with the agents and still do their actual feet on the ground real estate. Um, but I think the ultimate decision was that we said, this could be an opportunity for us when it comes to stock and benefits to agents that we'll never see again.
That's a great answer to an interesting question that I always hearing everybody's answers is really fun, and I love yours. A lot of what you've been saying today too, the word relationship sticks out in my mind. I think it's a sentiment of really strong agents across the board that you all have that same idea of relationships. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I only have a couple more questions with for you. So the second and last one would be, are there any clients or memorable moments throughout your real estate career? I know you said what is it, 7 years you've been doing it? 8 years?
As licensed in July of 18. Is that 8 years this year?
8 years?
Yeah. So it will be 8 years this summer.
Okay, so in those 8 years, have you come across a client or a situation that you always think about?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many. There are so many. You know, where I always say, I used to have on my name tag, my name, and then I didn't have realtor, but I had people collector, because I think that's really what I am. I mean, we have clients that are like family now. They're my very, very, very first clients. I mean, we went to their wedding. We see my girls babysit their kids now, and they live 25 minutes away from us. So it's not like they're next door. It was just by location or proximity. Um, but I mean, there's a number of them, and I feel like you kind of get to know. I mean, there's not a single client that I could think of that I would never really want to work with again, and I think that's why it's so important to be authentic when with your marketing, to be authentic with who you are. Don't portray what you think somebody wants, because then your people find you, and business flows very easily. But there you will find the ones that really are sticky to you. You know, we've been to a number of weddings. We last summer, we took our whole kids to one of our clients' 50th wedding anniversary that their kids invited us to, because we've helped the entire family. Um, So those are the fun ones. But I mean, I've been to there's some weird ones that stick out that change the way I do business. I don't ever walk in a door first because of something I seen when I walked into a door first. I always make sure that, my clients are the ones to walk in first and that safety measures are taken and stuff. So, um, but yeah, I think that you will always collect different, really cool, really neat, and everything should either like change you and your heart, or it should change how you do business. It should be a good lesson for you, is how I feel, because there's not a single time that I do business anymore that I don't go, okay, what can I take away from that and like put in my tool belt to make sure the next person's experience is that much better.
Wow, I love that last sentence talking about making the next one better. So, all right. Well, I have enjoyed getting to learn more about you. Again, I appreciate you taking the time. I know with that level of production, you're a very busy woman. So my last question, just for fun, um, and you can decline to answer, is,
I'm a pretty open book, so that's
okay,
all
okay,
right.
ready? All right. Do you have a favorite founder?
Ooh, do I have a favorite founder? Oh my gosh. I would have to be, and I feel like this is okay because they're twins, but I feel like it would be Josh and Janice. And the only reason I say that is I feel like I've gotten to know them just a little bit better. Chris has been wonderful. He was so inviting when we were at PowerPoint. He was awesome. But Josh and Janice, I've really enjoyed their leadership when it comes to when we seek them out for questions and advice. And I think they're incredible at really listening, at that point. So I don't have a favorite, but I feel like a twin being a favorite works, right?
Yeah, that works. That's a good loophole. I know.
Don't tell anybody else the loophole. Don't tell anybody else.
Yeah, I love putting people on the spot with that one because I think all three of them are very beloved, and
Yeah.
um, I don't think anybody would be hurt that you didn't name the other one. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, with that, again, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited to share this video with everybody, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of takeaways from it. And I hope we get to meet again, and maybe we'll do a follow-up interview next year and see what happened
I
this
would,
year.
I would love that. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Likewise, likewise. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.